All right, good morning, good rainy Monday morning to you. Three passages to consider in The Hobbit as we end. Three important passages that show Bilbo's growth and take us to the heart of the story. First is as he goes into Thorin, and Thorin kind of pronounces this benediction over him. If more people enjoyed food and cheer, good food and cheer and song, good food and drink and cheer and song, or whatever he says there, the world would be a better place. Like, this is what Bilbo and actually Hobbit culture give to the world, not greed, right? It's Bilbo's. The dragon greed doesn't seem to stick to Bilbo because he wants simple things in life. Like, that's his orientation. And so the dragon greed doesn't stick to him, and he can, make maneuvers that try to sue for peace and try to push for peace. So that piece, that's one thing, right, in Bilbo's character that's meaningful. Then the last trip with Gandalf, right, Bilbo breaks out into song. And we've seen a lot of songs from a lot of different cultures along the way. We saw Bilbo's silly rhyme with the spiders, but here he kind of composes on the spot a more formal song and joins this tradition of creating songs that explain experience that kind of will shape future generations, as it were. And Gandalf says, Bilbo, you're not the Hobbit you were. And that shows his change, right? Before he would never have risked, much less been on an adventure out of which he could write a song. He's not the Hobbit he was, he's changed. Of course, he comes back, and even the dragon greed, right, is in the Shire, is in the Hobbiton, is in, his whole, they're auctioning off his house. Can't wait to have it. They have no evidence that he's dead, but they pronounce him dead so they can move in, create their own horde. This is always true in Tolkien. The evil is never far away from us. It's also it's all a lot closer to our own doorsteps than we think. So he comes back and he finds that, but of course eventually things get sorted out. And again, his exclamation on the last page is like, oh wait, so the songs do come true after a moment. And you have Gandalf pointing to something larger, a larger force in the world. Gandalf mentions, you didn't think it was merely luck that got you by, did you? No, rather there's this kind of larger force in the world that we might name providence, or that we might name predestiny. And it mysteriously works through the songs and the prophecies, if you will. And Gandalf and Bilbo's, Gandalf says, you're a very fine person, Mr. Baggins, but after all, you're a very small person in the world. And Bilbo accepts that, approves of that. But the fact that he, little out of the way, insignificant Bilbo, was part of some kind of larger story, some larger force in the world, some larger providence, if you will, prophecies coming true, like, that amazes him. And that's true for everybody, right? Like, that's kind of one of the takeaways here, is there's something more going on. How can you be a part of that for good, for justice, for reconciliation? Those are ideas around the fringes of this book, and little Bilbo himself becomes a part of it. So, happy endings related to eucatastrophe, good catastrophe, and of being a sub-creator in the image of the great creator, and of the great good news, the great evangelium that Tolkien believes in. The birth of Christ, the resurrection of Christ. Now all stories may yet come true.